Hi, my name is Elizabeth Rimmer and I'm founder for Entrepreneurs. And on tonight's live, I'm going to be interviewing Sandy Green, and she's nurse consultant for the National Medical Weight Loss Programme.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and for those of you that kind of tune in afterwards and watch the live backwards or whatever it's called, after it's been recorded.
Yeah.
Hello to everyone. My name is Sandy Green. I'm actually the nurse consultant and founder of the National Medical Weight Loss Programme, and that's really looking at a company that trains registered healthcare professionals to set up their own weight management services to help people living with overweight and obesity. My background is I've been working full-time in aesthetics since 2003. I initially trained with Lucy Glancic back in the day, and have been full-time really ever since. I left the NHS in 93, so the full-time service NHS. I still carried on doing one session a week until I retired last year, which is fabulous, and been running aesthetics ever since.
Great. So yeah, I mean, the reason I asked you on, it's like so impressive what you've done and what you've achieved so far, and I just thought it would be really nice to give people kind of other nurses an insight into like how that's come about and how you've kind of reached the position that you're in at the moment. So I guess the first question that I've got for you is, why weight management? What's been the draw with that field?
Yeah, okay. Well, the why really comes from, it's one single answer, and it really quite simply was to do with my own battle with the demons that I had around obesity. I've always been very, very slim. I've always been the size that I am now ever since being at school. I was mad into athletics and everything. Mm-hmm. I never had to worry about my weight. I'm 55 now, but when I was 46, I hit the menopause and everything just went to pieces and the whole world changed. And during the menopause, you don't just gain weight, but you change how your body redistributes the fat cells in the body. You'll remember this one when we did the training, Liz. So yeah. You become a very, very different shape when you hit the menopause, and that just completely floored me. I went from being someone that's never really ever had to worry about it, and it didn't matter what I was doing, I was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It got to the point then that I needed help with it, and I actually funded myself to have a gastric band. Right. First of all, my BMI at that time was just over 30.
Wow.
So I had a gastric band, and that was great for a couple of years. And after a couple of years, when you like food, and I've always liked food, you get to a point where you will just do anything to try and get food, no matter how you actually do it. If you like food, when you're obese and you love food, you will just find a way.
Right.
And I started putting all the weight back on that I'd started to lose, and so I went back to the surgeon, and I had the band converted then to a sleeve, and again, so a gastric band is quite simply a band that goes around the top of the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Which is my training tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Remember this from when you do the training. So this is a gastric band. So this is the stomach. Your stomach typically, and it matches the side of your hands, your stomach, that's typically your stomach.
Right.
And it's here. So the stomach is kind of here. And this is a sleeve around the top of the band, making a smaller stomach at the top.
Yeah.
Actually, the stomach you get the sensation of being full very, very quickly, mm-hmm. because it's actually, when you have a small pouch of a little stomach here, the stomach walls stretch very easily, mm-hmm. Where the vagal nerve is, or the vagal nerve, sorry, and so you're actually stimulating the vagal nerve, which actually tells your brain that your stomach is full. So it's tricking your body that you actually become satisfied on really small amounts. You can override that though, unfortunately, and which is what I was doing. So when you have a gastric sleeve, a sleeve is actually taken away. What actually happens with a sleeve, you take away 3/4 of that stomach and you're left with a little bit of a banana or a slither of banana. So you're just left with 1/4 of a stomach.
Wow.
And then all of this lot is chopped away.
Yeah.
And so again, I had success with weight loss, but I still had my weight went up to 35. I was up to a BMI of 35.
Wow, it's really hard to picture you.
I became a bit of a recluse, and I always kind of, I don't know if I was kind of, I usually generally share the story when I'm doing the training course, because I'm getting better at it, but I could never really tell the story without getting really emotional, because when I talk about the story, I'm transported back into that large body, and I was the person that I am now, but trapped in an obese person's body, and it was getting a bit emotional at this bit, because I actually wanted to take my own life. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to survive. I couldn't deal with being that big and not having the willpower. And this is why I think it's so important to be able to understand what obese people live with, and the thoughts and the feelings. And it's not because they want to be fat, they don't. But there are other demons that are at play with the psychology of eating, and we can go into that into the course.
Yeah.
So then I actually found Saxenda. And since Saxenda, I've gone on to Ozempic, and so I've got back to a very happy body size and body shape, and that's kind of why I got into it. So, but it's not until you live that you then become sensitized to it. It's like when you're pregnant, you see pregnant people everywhere.
Right.
When you're obese, you see obesity everywhere, and when you actually dealing with obesity and finding or trying to get treatments for obesity, it was very clear to me that there's a huge lack of support for people living with overweight and obesity in the NHS, because the NHS is not funded at all. They can't prescribe Saxenda, they can't prescribe Mysimba, which are two of the licensed drugs for weight loss treatment in the UK.
Yeah.
Not because they're not effective, because they are very effective treatments, but according to NICE, they're not cost effective. So CCPs won't fund their doctors to actually prescribe it.
Yeah.
So looking at statistics on obesity, as we stand now, 2/3 almost of the adult population in England are living with overweight and obesity.
Yeah.
And a document you remember from your training, we looked at the Foresight report that was by the government. They believe, or they estimate, that with no intervention following the current trends, by 2050, which is only one generation of people away, so our children's children, that 2/3 will be 90%. So 90% of the adult population in England will be overweight and obese.
It's a mental statistic, isn't it?
And that is a phenomenal burden on the NHS. Now, we know that obesity is not actually a disease, but it's associated with causing and leading on to compound issues with disease and disorders.
Yeah.
And we know it's linked to causing. Obesity is responsible for 13 different types of cancer. So it's a huge problem that we need to help to address.
And we now have seen lots of links with COVID, haven't we? People who aren't doing so well with COVID have, there's lots of research coming out with the links with obesity.
In our closed Facebook group, I don't know if you've had a chance to actually look today, but I've put in access to a free course today linking COVID and obesity. So do go and watch that. I've put that in there today. Yeah.
So what kind of training did you have to go through? I know you offer training, but how? Because you're pioneering, shall we say, in what you're doing. So how did you train to do what you're doing? How did you train so that you're now training other nurses and doctors and whatever? How did you get there?
Well, I've got a qualification can you remember when it was EMB 997998?
Yes,
Remember back in the
I
day?
do. Yeah, I've lived that for a long time. I do.
Yeah, no. I've also got the Cert Ed, so I'm okay with the training, but it was actually finding the material, because I hadn't had the only experience I've got is my own experience of being overweight and the treatments that I tried and things. So I looked around, and I went to have some training with a professor over in Manchester, and so I trained with him. But I also I found Matt then, and Matt is the co-author and the co-course deliverer for the training that we offer on the programme. And so that's who I got my training with.
So that's incredible. You just kind of thought, this is something I really want to do, and just started, I'm imagining, just kind of reaching out to various different people until somebody said, yeah, you can come.
You know what, it was really, really difficult, and I still find it difficult now trying to, I don't mean persuade, but to encourage registered healthcare professionals to do the training and set up their own weight loss course. Because that our goal or our vision of the National Medical Weight Loss Programme is really to make services accessible for everyone living with overweight and obesity. We're going to do that by training registered healthcare professionals to actually set up and deliver those services. Is that our course is actually accredited by the Royal College of Nursing and also a company called Scope. But RCN, it took us nearly a year to get that accreditation, and that's no mean feat, because the RCN actually is huge. They never really touch any aesthetic treatments or aesthetic courses. But when you get the accreditation and the backing of the RCN saying, your course is top notch, then you're getting a quality course.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, so you get lots of things. Your clinic is added to the national website as a locator.
Yeah.
You automatically generated your own private electronic consultation form that you get to your patients. That might be through a link on your website. It might be in your bio on your social media. You might do a group campaign. Any way that you get that electronic link for your private consultation form is sent to the patient. And then that comes via encrypted, it's password protected to actually get your consultation form back. And you take it from there, patient-wise.
So going back to when you sort of first were transitioning, what NHS nursing did you do?
I did midwifery and sexual health.
Okay, cool.
So I was actually from being a midwife, I actually went I went into management in sexual health. So I was the lead nurse there, and then I actually went into management. So.
And that transition from NHS to business, I think you've already touched on that at the beginning, that was something that happened slowly, am I right? You carried on in the NHS whilst you were kind of building up on the business side of things.
Yeah, I did, and it was only really last year, because I used to, it's difficult to let go, isn't it? I did. Yeah. When you've got a team that you work really well with, and it's very much in sexual health, it's very much on a sessional basis.
Right.
And I used to love the team and loved helping patients. We worked in adult services rather than young children, because I always found that quite challenging. But yeah, I used to love my job. I used to really enjoy it. But as soon as I got to the age of retirement, I was in the 95 scheme. So it's like golden handshake, off you go, then bye.
Right, yeah, hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So I left the NHS officially last year.
Wow, so fairly recently then.
Yeah.
And when you were starting out, again, I think you've touched on this, you started out in aesthetics. So in terms of like funding your own training, I guess I'm imagining you were just doing kind of short courses and kind of paying for them as you went. Is that how you did it? And then just slowly build up a client list?
Most of us kind of chug along that way, don't we? We kind of a bit of money and then think, okay, what can I learn next? So it's doing those courses methodically that you need to actually do, and you'll prioritise those courses that will give you a good return on investment before then doing something else. But